We hope you enjoy this snippet from our Talk Tennis podcast, where Ralph, who's director of R&D for Head Racket Sports, walks us through every Head Reticle racket ever made.
Talking about the birth of the Reticle, huh? Well, yeah, we got here the old one, the first one, which is what it was at that time. And in Europe, it was called the Reticle Tour. I think in the US, was it the Trisis 280, I think? The nickname, of course, of the racket Bumblebee. I remember myself playtesting the racket in 1993. And yeah, it was a great racket. Of course, it was, so to say, if you compare it to the Pro Tour, a bit more on the stiffer side. But at that time, very successful. Then if we go on, there was the first twin tube racket, which was launched around 1995. And I think the nickname is the Zebra because of, the special look. And some really nice details, like, you have here material. And because of the twin tube, the playability, the feel was a bit softer. It was a bit, let's say, more plush. It was not that stiff, not that direct, but in the end, also a huge success. And then there was one other version of this Reticle, which was, I think it was launched around beginning of 1998. I don't actually know the nickname of this. I mean, it's again, a lot of different colors. It was also a twin tube racket. And what is interesting here, you still see the pretty curved shaft geometry, It's really, it goes out of the grip, kind of parallel to the length axis, and then it's really very curved. And this was then slightly changed when we move on to the titanium Reticle, which was a new geometry, new shape. And I take the other one again. Maybe might be difficult to see it here, but it is slightly kind of straighter, this one. You see it. So here we had a new shape, a new mold, new geometry, was optimized. And also, of course, at that time, two dramatical changes. First, the weight was reduced a lot. We went down to 295 grams on this one. And the other change, of course, for R&D, not at all important, but we got the orange color. So this was basically, I think, the first one, where, the kind of Reticle orange came to the market. Then Intelligence Reticle, also very popular, the cat eyes, and I think introduced in about 2001. We move on to the liquid metal Reticle, which was a different mold. And here with the Reticle at that time, it was the first time that there was a tour version of the MP. It was, I think at that time, Reticle MP Tour. Was the same mold, was the same string pattern, but was, I think, about 320 grams, if I remember correctly. Also twin tube racket. Also, very kind of soft, plush feel. We move on to the Flex Pant Reticle. Similar mold. And again, here we have the real orange, clearly in your face. And this was also, we have still the total sweet spot construction here, which was brought into the line with the liquid metal Reticle. Then we move on to the Microchill Reticle. Was a new mold, but let's say the changes were not dramatically, but were, so to say, subtle, but still kind of, small revisions. It was this one, as well as with the Flex Pant, there the Tour or Pro version was now a different mold. It was a 645 head size. And we go on to the UTEC Reticle. This was now really, again, a totally different mold. The cross sections were kind of, thinner, slimmer, and still the 1820 pattern. A racket, I think, very popular, but also, let's say, partly for some players it was a bit too, so to say, soft or flexible. Other players loved it for that, special, so to say, playability. The UTEC IG Reticle was then same mold. The biggest change here, we optimized the playability, fine-tuned it, but also here the Pro version was now made out of directly this mold. and was the first time with a 1619 pattern. So the MP still had the 1820 and the Pro version had the 1619. Yeah, and then we have the new shape, which was then introduced in 2014, Graphene. And I remember pretty well the internal meetings at that time. You know, a lot of discussions moving away from the 1820. In the end, I think it was the right decision, simply because of the 1619 offering, a bit more power, a bit more kind of forgiveness. And if you think about how the game changed, this simply fits to the change of the game. Was here, of course, a total new geometry, total new shape. The balance was reduced by 10 millimeter, so extremely maneuverable racket. And then over the years, we got the Graphene XT, where we fine-tuned the layup, worked on the layup, and also, of course, the Razzle Dazzle cosmetic, very special. And then we had Graphene Touch Reticle. Here, the playability, the target was to, make it really as comfortable as possible. But of course, there's the comfortable, it's a kind of, it's a fine line, making it comfortable, but still having enough connection. And I think here, some players absolutely love this racket. However, we have to admit, some also say, no, not for me. This is always, I think, here it's a personal taste. How much really feedback, how much connection do you want to have with the racket? And then, of course, Graphene 360. And the details are, it's not extremely that you say totally different, it doesn't have now a lollipop shape or whatever. But as mentioned, the head size, the head shape, it's slightly wider, thereby offering more forgiveness, a bigger sweet spot. And also we fine-tuned the cross sections to optimize this feel, and also fine-tuned the string pattern.
If you enjoyed this explanation of the Raticles, be sure to check out the full podcast at tenniswarehouse.com/podcast.